Thank you so much for being here. I'm super, super excited. Um,
Thank you for having me.
so we of course met many months ago. And what your bio does not say about you is that you have this ability to connect with everyone that is really extraordinary. And I think it comes from like you have this just real sort of uh, empathy, right? You're really paying attention to how other people feel, which of course shows in your work. And it's really, really an extraordinary thing that you bring to all of your paintings. And I have like a million questions for you. But I wanted to start. I'd read an interview of yours in which you said, of course, you're a model. You are still
No,
working as a model?
I'm retired.
Okay, you're a retired model. But when you began painting, you were also modeling, right? And there was some friction there. And I think you mentioned that there was some challenge in that transition. Um, and the sort of name of this collective and of this podcast is United Against Silence. And um, to decide to put something out that's not modeling, to sort of be like, no, I care about this issue and I'm going to use this other set of talents to advance this thing, like you say, right? We're killing this planet and the magnificent creatures that live on it. What was that like for you? Like, what made you decide to be like, no, that's not what I'm doing anymore?
Well, modeling, first of all, for me, it was something that kind of supported me while I was studying and while I was in school. And what I also realized that it's not necessarily in a bad way, but it was all focused around me, right? It's like, oh, I'm modeling, I'm doing it, like, I'm presenting this product, no, no, no. And I felt it wasn't making enough impact. And sometimes I had to do shows, like they would ask me, like, would you do this fur show? Like for fur, like for animals. Like, and I remember once, like, they didn't tell me that there would be fur, and I was at one of the, I think it was a photo shoot, and I was standing there, I was touching the fur, and I had tears in my eyes because I was like, why? Like, why this animal deserve to die? And I realized that I wasn't aligning. I feel like I don't align with most of the consumer products and like the way the companies operate. It's all for profit maximization. There's like not enough about sustainability and environment. And now, thank God, like companies, they come in and they're like, what, we're going to change our strategies. We want to do good for the environment, and this is great. But I also want to not only be able to represent, if any, just those companies, which becomes, it's very limited. If I'll be modeling and I'll be like, I only will model for like these like 3 companies. so now I want to speak up, and I want to speak up for the voiceless, because as I traveled from, I grew up in many different countries. I had to learn a language. Like every time I had to learn a new language, and I felt what it feels like not to be able to speak up. Because as a new kid in any school, and especially if it's in another country, you're an outlier, and no matter what, you'll be bullied. And imagine if a kid is being bullied, but the kid can't complain to anyone.
Right.
His or her parents cannot come to school and say anything because they don't speak the language either. And so I really felt what it's like to be abused, in an environment that's kind of foreign. And that's what these animals also kind of live, especially like if you talk about livestock, that are being brought to different environments. But we're not going to go to, this is like a whole other industry. This is a whole other area. I'm going to focus on wildlife right now. They can't speak up. Like we invaded their territories. We changed the way things are, and they can't do anything. All they have left is just to die. And I don't know if you've seen this. I'm kind of like off topic. It's just like there's so much to say about. Have you seen a video of an orangutan fighting a bulldozer in Indonesia in the jungle?
No.
It blew my mind. It's the only thing he could do. right? You couldn't do anything else. It's and in Indonesia and Borneo, the jungle is being destroyed so fast. Like in past 15 years, they destroyed 50% of the jungle, of the lowland. It's just, I can't even believe that this is
It's
happening.
like not even like it's not even something that I can comprehend, right? Um, and I think that there's this other thing where we judge the intelligence of an animal by its ability to do people shit, right? Like this is like an octopus can open a jar. Like what the fuck does an octopus need to open a jar for? That's not what makes it smart. Like there's multiple intelligences.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah, and yeah, so I just want to be the voice for the voiceless, and I want to speak up. And I feel that I really feel aligned with my purpose. And also, while I was modeling, I've been struggling with eating disorder. First of all, the industry is very strong, and second of all, I feel like all these mental weaknesses or mental illnesses, however you want to call them, they were showing me that I'm just not on the right path.
right.
Because right now I feel aligned. I feel like I see my mission clearly on this planet. It's not really of, what do I want to make out of this life, but kind of what does my life want from me? Like how can I better? How can I do not even just better for myself, but for the world, for other people, for other species around me. So yeah, that's why I made the change from in my careers.
That's so beautiful. And I think that's such a real thing. Like when we're suffering, when we're really anxious, or when we're, you know, struggling with mental health challenges, it is usually a signal that something, it's not you, right? It's like something that you're doing around you. I think that's such an important part because so much of the medical model is focused on like medicating the person and, like you should try meditating and, but it's like, no, there's more to it. Um, the life that you're living is made up of a lot other more people than just you, and systems other than your own. That's so beautiful. um, and I am blown away by your sort of range of size. I've seen you work on an iPad, right? That's like this big, and then you have these enormous the mural that's going around when in our flyers is like on the side of a tractor trailer. What's the largest mural you've done?
It was 52 feet long, and I think it was about 9 feet tall, but it was like, that's the track I'm talking about, the one that went for birding and like but it was also off the ground, like maybe another like 8 feet. So it's basically like when I was painting, it was almost like 20 feet high. So yeah, that's kind of like the biggest one.
So you're not afraid of heights at all?
Wrong. No. When I was painting that first mural, which was funny, like I was doing it for Burning Man, and there was like, I don't know, we were just experimenting, and it was like, and like you kind of like, basically I had two big ladders and a piece of wood connecting the two ladders, and I was standing on that, and I was like, you know what? I really want to do this mural. It was actually my first mural. That biggest one was my first one I've ever done. And it was, I'm used to painting on large canvases. So I was like, whatever, like I can scale it up. And then I show up there and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't expect to have the height. And sometimes your legs are shaking and you're like, and you just need to focus on what, like I just focus on what I have to do and then hope for the best. And literally like, I believe in God. So I just like, hope that like I'll be protected, and that's about it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine like adding.
Yeah, but sorry, interrupting. But one last thing, but like now that I've done more murals, I know that my safety comes first. And now like even like on the last one, I was like, I must have well, how we call it in English. I forgot the name. It was, like when you stand, it's like when you build a house, like there's like a specific thing. Basically,
Yeah.
make sure I'm safe. Yes, so now it's
Like a scaffolding.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, and that's like right I think that's true as you like come into your profession, like at the beginning of any career, you're like, yes, to everything. You're like, okay, I'll do it. You're giving me a chance to work on this big thing. I'll do it. And they're like, ugh. I think we accept less money than we should early on. Just like we're so excited that somebody trusts us to do it. And then you're like, I kind of say no to this, you know, just like, maybe not. And you're there.
That was great. Yeah. But safety comes first now.
Yeah. How do you do? So do you paint it in like squares? Do you map it out that way? Or because when I paint, I always find that I like work around the page so that everything's kind of even, but that must be very difficult with the mural.
So with the mural, what I did it during my world mural tour, because I was traveling and I was basically creating a grid, like a grid system. So I would first create a sketch, and then I would create a grid on the sketch, and then the same grid on the surface, and then I go cube by cube,
Right.
and I would create like X, Y and X lines, and then like I would create dots of like. Have you ever like painted through like by dots or whatever, like like the dot one? So it's kind of like the two of them combined. It takes a long time. It takes about a day to a day and a half, depends on the size of the mural. And also the thing with my artwork is that I love it symmetrical, because I want the animal to face you straight forward, and I want the viewer to have that impact of connection and the strong gaze. So I have to make sure that they're equal and they're aligned, that they're straight, and that everything is like where it's supposed to be. And so for my last mural, actually, like now after COVID and all this stuff, my recent mural was in Mexico, the one that you got a chance to visit. That one I did with a projector, because because I sketched it on my iPad. I created a sketch, and then I just projected the outline onto the wall, and I was like because I used to be like, I don't want to use a projector. It's like like it's
cheating.
And then I spoke to other muralists, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, they were like, "Because it's your sketch." I'm like, "Yeah, it's my sketch." And they're like, "Yeah, so why does it matter if it's going to take you a day and a half to do it or an hour? Like, you much rather put that time into like extra detail of painting." They were right. I was like, yeah, it's so much better and less stressful too, because like if you, it's like a whole thing. So, and yeah, it makes sense, like it's just like the same artwork, just a different way of application on the wall.
And I have so many questions for you. I'm like, here's a hard question, a hard-hitting question. You have to answer it though.
Okay. But I have to write.
What is your least favorite animal?
Oh. Why?
I told you there was going to be hard-hitting questions. This is it.
That's a good one. I never was asked this question before. Like I remember I have like a big book of wildlife, of animals that I just live through, and like I find cool, unique species. Hibiscus monkeys.
Oh, they have like the
big noses. So I remember when I was going through the book, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna paint this one. And also I was swimming with my zoologist friend, and she was like, no. But until I went to Indonesia, into Borneo, into the jungle, and that's the only place actually where they live, and I got a chance to witness them, they're actually beautiful and unique and very different, and I fell in love with them. So, it's hard.
What about squirrels? Squirrels are the worst.
I love squirrels. Why you don't like squirrels?
Because they are not afraid of me, and that concerns me.
No, it means that you have good energy, and they want to meet you.
No, I don't prefer it. I don't prefer it.
That is so.
Okay, what about raccoons?
I've been to this rehabilitation. They're the best. I've been to this rehabilitation center, and this raccoon became their ambassador because he couldn't be returned into the wild. He has like some sort of like health issues, so he wouldn't be able to adopt. And he held my finger with it looks like baby's hands.
Yeah, because when you see their tracks in the mud, it's like very disconcerting.
But like, you know, he was holding my finger and I was standing there. I was like, oh my God, I can be here forever. Just they're stunning.
So how did you develop this? You have a very clear aesthetic, right? It's this sort of really bright, almost candy colors, and the animals gazing straight at you. And then, of course, your signature, these eyes that are, I don't want to say human because it like comes back to that judging the value of something by how human it is, because I don't think that's it. But there is a sort of depth and wisdom in the eyes of every painting that I've seen of yours. Um, what was your journey there? Like, how did that happen?
You know, I believe that eyes are windows into our soul. And when you get to meet someone's soul, you don't have the heart to hurt them.
Mm,
So I feel like it's my duty to make this eyes as soulful as possible. So then there's no escape, but you have to look directly to those eyes and you have to connect no matter what. And because they're so big, it's hard to ignore. It's
right.
there, it's looking at you. And also our animal instinct, like when something is staring at you and stands directly, you want it or not, you're gonna look.
Yeah.
And the colors is just, you know, there's many artists that paint animals in their natural colors. It's beautiful. I wanted to bring uniqueness and personality out of each one, because I don't think animals, they're like, oh, these are all elephants, they're all the same. But
Right.
each one is unique and different. So I wanted to highlight, really to paint their soul, you know, like what is it that they're from within and how each one differentiates from another. Because if you, for example, if an elephant being poached in the wild, and that elephant that passes away, for example, was the eldest female who knew the way to, during the drought, where to go and get the water. And only her who has that knowledge. And
Right.
if she dies, it affects the whole herd. They all might die because they don't have that knowledge. And because she's playing a specific role in their community, you know, and like we really do humans.
Right.
So I want to highlight their uniqueness through these colors and yeah, just make them different and special.
What about your decision to take up the entire substrate, whatever it is, canvas or side of a truck or whatever, with just the animal? You don't paint them in their habitat almost ever. I'm trying to think. Maybe the squid
The
was
squid.
had to be in water, or the octopus. You had a
Oh, the jellyfish.
jellyfish. Sorry, yes. So that of course had to be kind of in water, but
So the jellyfish was kind of already like, I don't want to say too much, but there's like, I'm transitioning a little bit in my style. There's a
mm.
that I'm working on right now, which is very exciting. Starts with the pink hair. And, um, so you know, like for these ones, I just wanted for them to have the focus and to have the full stage. Like this is what they are, no matter where they are, and like this is them. Like, and I even like a leaving white background. Like for this one, he's gonna have drips coming out of his ears. Like he's melting, he's dissipating into the ether. You know, he's like as they all are, like, you know, like slowly but surely melting away. But the jellyfish, you know, like it's, I don't know if I want to go there, but I'm like,
You don't have to.
yeah, so I just want them to be the focus. And I even love leaving the white background and even sometimes just creating texture in it. So like it's still, there's texture, but the main focus is the animal. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that you're sort of moving back and forth from digital to sort of analog, I guess, like acrylic is what you paint with, right? And did you started with acrylic painting and then moved to the iPad or to digital, or how
Yeah,
did it go?
I started like every kid with markers.
Markers, yes.
I wish I had crayons, that could have been fun. But then when I went to art school, I remember for the first time they gave me watercolors. And my teacher, he was like, he put two apples in front of me and like staged with like drapes and all this stuff. And he said, look at them. You see, the green apple is not really green. You see, there's red and there's purple, there's yellow. I want you to capture that. I was like, okay. And I think for me, that was the biggest advice in my whole art career, in my whole art studies that I was ever given to. First of all, I probably took it way too far. Are you sure elephant is not gray? I see the purples, I see the yellows. But and like I remember painting those apples, and the difference that it created, it was so realistic, because sometimes we just label things as one color, but there's so much in harmony there. So I started painting with watercolors, and then acrylics and oils. So I was experimenting, also traveling from here to there, from like different mediums. And then I actually started painting murals, and then I started painting digital.
Really?
Yes. So iPad Pro with Procreate, I think is the most amazing program that was ever created so far. Because first of all, like iPads are so light, you can take it with you anywhere. And when I was painting, like I could just, like, for example, to Mexico, I would bring it with me, and I would like everything is there. Like I could create a whole mural ahead of time. And so it's a beautiful tool to be able to create what I want in analog. Because, for example, if I'm painting this elephant, I'm like, I wonder what orange ears would look like. I can take a photo, I can put it to Procreate, I can change the ears to orange in 2 seconds. Like, it's quick, whatever, it doesn't matter what it looks like, very quick. And I can see if I like it, I go ahead. If I don't, I don't.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's a beautiful tool to just play around with, and to have different ways of experimenting, really.
It's so beautiful. And this thing about observation that you said, that I often think that that's the sort of baseline for artists and for veterans, which is our main population is veterans and active duty service members and healthcare workers, is in all of these fields. It's seeing beyond what your first brain wants you to see, right? We fill in a lot of gaps and miss a lot of things as a result, and make snap judgments. And I think there's something so beautiful about your commitment to not accepting that these things that we're told about what we're supposed to feel about animals, or what we're supposed to see, and that an elephant's not just gray.